We should take down all the sound.
Recording in progress.
We should make.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Action Edges webinar. Today we have Ms. Indira Couch. So I will now, Dr. Indira Couch, sorry. So I will now pass you over to our host today.
All right. How are we doing today? Welcome to you, everyone. I normally would be saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's so nice to just say good morning because I'm on the same time zone as all of you. So welcome and thank you all for tuning up and thank you all for investing your time with us today. Okay. A wise person once told me it's really important how you invest your money, but it's much more important how you invest your time. So thank you very much for turning up. So we're going to play a little bit of music and get us all vibed up. But I think we're all really vibed up already and really excited to kind of hear what it is that you need to know to create and sustain a high-performing agile team, right? So I'm going to just jump right in today. So how are you all feeling? Tell me. Quickly, just share with us. Let's hear on your poll. Are you seeing your poll? Are you feeling today rubbish? Are you feeling just okay? You're feeling pretty good? Feeling really great or really amazing? How are you feeling today? Single choice. Let's hear you. How are you feeling? How is it going? What's everyone saying? Oh, we have quite a few people turning up. Tell me how you're doing today. Let's see. All right, let's close that poll and see how we're going with that poll. How are you feeling? Let's see if those buttons are working. All right, let's see what's going on. All right, just okay. So no rubbish. That's brilliant. Okay, awesome. So just okay, pretty good, great, and amazing. Man, I love this energy. This is fantastic. So what I would ask you all today is to just, again, yeah, thank you very much for investing your time with us today. But really just to give me 100% of your time and energy and effort right now, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And as part of the business education series, I have a lot to share with you all today, on what it actually takes to create and sustain high-performing agile teams. I know everybody wants to know, what is it we need to do? Because a lot of people have been reaching out to me and saying, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. And so what I would like to invite you to do is to think about practicing the beginner's mindset. And what that means is just to really open your mind, because for some of you, you would have heard some of this before. Some of you, oh yes, I know what it takes. I know, I'm just here to hear, to see what Indy has to say, because some of you may have heard about me from before. But what I would just really like you all to do is to just open your mind with the curiosity of like a 5-year-old and just kind of practice that beginner's mindset. Just, 2 ears, listen with the 2 ears, and just, open your mind to what I have to say. So with that in mind, let me just quickly introduce myself. Some of you would have heard about me before, and thank you again for registering. But really my claim to fame has been the picture which is at the top. Many things I've done in my life, but I think this is probably one of the proudest I've actually felt in terms of accomplishments. But I took a business from 24 bottles on a stove, and I grew that business to a much larger business, which I then sold to a large company in Jamaica called Pick a Pepper. And that journey that I took was a journey in which I had to work on myself, because what I began to realize very early in that business is that I could do some things and I could get results. But what I realized about success, it was not just what I needed to do, but who was the person that I needed to become. Because what I began to realize was that success became something that I attracted by the person I became. Because I recognized I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs. I had a lot of head trash, a lot of, I'm a Trini, I'm a woman, I come from the wrong side of town, a lot of stuff going on that was really holding me back. And once I got awareness around who was the person I needed to become, I really worked through those things and, grew that business to a much larger business. And then, like I said, sold it to Pick a Pepper, which is, for those of you who know Jamaican brands, it is one of the longest known brands in Jamaica. I think it's over 100 years old right now. Okay. So that's me. I'm an ICF certified coach. I'm also a business coach, an executive coach, a leadership coach. I'm also a master coach with a global organization called Engage and Grow. And we consider ourselves, we're actually the only engagement and leadership and culture organization of our kind, and where we actually do many, many programs to help, organizations to create and sustain high-performing agile teams and leaders. And I'm a master coach with Engage and Grow. And as you can see, there are numerous other awards that I've, myself and my team, we all work together, and in fact, all of these results are not my results alone, but as the result of the work with our teams throughout the world. And as you can see, we also align ourselves with the most, well-known in the world in terms of tried and tested programs and offerings in terms of business coaching, behavior intelligence, strategic planning. That's what we do. So what are we going to get out of today? Well, first of all, I'm really hoping that we're going to have some fun. So really important in our business, we don't call it business education, we call it edutainment, because we want to have a little bit of fun. So important to have some fun. I want to educate and I want to inspire you. I want to share some really key information with you, because all of what you're going to see today is everything that is the most current that is happening in the space of people performance and human capital. And I want to help you to make a decision on the level of investment that you're going to make in your people. Okay, so there are going to be a couple of options at the end of the webinar. We're going to have one, first of all, you can actually, when you see some of the things that I'm sharing, you can make some changes in your organization for yourself. You can choose to do it yourself. Or you may say, you know what, Indy, I'm going to ask you to, help me because, I can't do this alone. So I'd like you to help me to create those changes. And the last, but we hope not this one, but, really not do anything because you're like, no, I can't be bothered. And I really don't want to go there because I really do hope that you're going to take one of these two. Okay. Because we have so much to share with you. And by the way, at the end, we will have lots of gifts because we do believe one of our values is abundance, and we believe there's enough for everyone. And because that's how we think, and we understand that there's a lot to give and a lot to share. So we have a lot of really nice gifts for you at the end. So please, stay with us to the end. So before we jump in, I'd like to do some polls. I would like for you to tell me, what do you think is your number one team challenge? The number one team challenge that you have. So there are a bunch of things that we're throwing out here. So which of these do you think is your number one? Give you a couple of minutes to complete that. All right, how are we doing there? Polls coming in. I think 1 minute is enough. What do you think, folks? Okay, let's see what everyone's saying. Let's close up that poll and see what everyone is saying. What is our number one team challenge? Team members put their personal agenda above the team agenda. Okay, really interesting there. I can't seem to attract good people to work here. I get complaints from customers about the team, so that's less worrying. I need to constantly supervise my team and fix problems. Team members constantly blame each other for mistakes. Team members deliver less than is expected. Team not coming up with solutions quickly, and all of the above. Okay, so quite a lot here in terms of the problems that we're facing with our teams. Now, so tell me, so the next part of this is I want us to take a look at is, and this is the next poll. So to which of the following would your team members answer yes? What would they say? If you gave this to your team, which of them would they say yes to? Let's see what's happening here, because some people may be saying, oh, I don't know that I can say yes to any. Is there anyone there that's saying that? All right, so let's see what's coming up from this. Okay, so at work, my opinion seems to count. So they would have said yes. I've received recognition for doing good work. They would have said yes to that. Yes, doing quality work. My manager is a great role model. We take ownership, accountability, and ownership and accountability. Okay for all results. And a few have said all of the above. So what is this telling us, folks? What is this telling us? It's telling us that we all, when we look at this poll, that we're seeing that there's quite a lot of opportunity here for us to really take a look at what is in front of us in terms of our teams and the performance of our teams. Okay, so let me just bring it back down to a bit of the current situation and the current context. Now, post-pandemic, there's been an increased focus on societal consciousness. Now, you're all aware, or you may be all aware, of the 170 countries and businesses that actually committed to the adoption of the 2030 agenda and the whole focus on SDG goals. You're probably all aware of this, okay? And in a nutshell, it's all about ending poverty and developing strategies to improve health and education, reducing inequality and spurring economic growth, okay? Of course, when we're doing all of this, we're also tackling climate change and we're working towards preserving oceans and forests. So what we're seeing globally is that a number of businesses and organizations have made this commitment to these goals, and they're actively implementing strategies in their organizations, okay? So what we're seeing more and more, and by the way, this is going to continue to cascade down to us in the Caribbean. If you're not seeing it yet in your organizations, you're going to see more of it, okay? And so to stand out as a business nowadays, we remember we used to everybody was always focused on profit. Well, nowadays, our attention has focused more to purpose, to people, planet, and then profit. Okay. In other words, what's happening nowadays is that the persons who want to come and work for us, or the persons who are looking to us or our organizations, they're looking to organizations that actually stand for something. So what we need to take a look at in our businesses is, how are we actually, for good instead of just for profit? So what we're seeing is that you and your businesses have to be more for good and then for profit. So we need to think about this a little bit differently, in that being a mission with a company and not a company with a mission. And the difference between the two is night and day. And this is what our workforces are attracted to. People are looking to organizations where the leaders, or at least they're showing up with companies with a conscience. And furthermore, evidence that we care about the world and society. So the leaders and the organizations where the leaders are that are really having the sort of bold actions and leading from the power of the heart and standing for something and caring about people will definitely win the war of influence and also be able to gain massive advantage. Okay, so what we're seeing right now post-pandemic, and by the way, this is stuff that was going on before the pandemic, but all of what we've been through with the pandemic has really heightened awareness around all of this. So we're seeing the new world and the new world of work being focused on, okay, so there's still hybrid workforces, there's still online, employee connection, even though, in some cases it was very remote, now more than ever, it's still very critical. So we have new environmental setups, new time management structures, all concerned about managing mind health and managing team health. Okay, so it's the new world of work. We've come out, there's a whole new context in front of us. What is this new workplace looking like? So let's take a look at what the research is showing us globally. Okay, and one of the things, of course, there's some of you in our group here who are HR professionals, so you will understand that the metric that we use is that employee engagement metric. And what that does, it helps us to measure and manage our employees' perspectives on the crucial elements of the workplace culture. So we get feedback from our employees on, how they really feel about working in our organizations. And by the way, in some organizations, and some of you here who work in global organizations know that is the most important metric. That is what people look to all the time to get an understanding of, where their teams are. Okay, so let me just, for the benefit of those of you who are not HR professionals and who may not be aware of this whole conversation around engagement, what we do at Engage and Grow is that we take everything that you needed to know about engagement, but we're afraid to ask, and we break it down into bite-sized pieces so you can really understand it a little bit better. And what we see is that there are three major buckets of engagement. So we have our actively disengaged teams and team members. And as you can see, those are the folks who are doing less than is expected. Then we have the disengaged teams and the team members, and these are the folks who are doing just what is expected. And then we have our actively engaged teams, and those are the ones who are doing more than is expected. And if we take a look at this visual here, what are we seeing here? And I would invite you to drop some stuff in the chat. What are we seeing in the actively engaged on this boat, on this visual? What are we seeing here on the actively disengaged with the reds? Just drop it into the chat for me. What are we seeing here? What are we seeing? Yes, definitely. We're seeing someone, yes, dropping an anchor. What does it mean? Stagnant, yes. Stagnate any growth, absolutely. They keep the others from moving forward, absolutely. They stop the business, retarding progress, brilliant. Demotivated, exactly. So when we see actively disengaged persons in our organizations, we know, we can spot it. Well, how do we spot it? What are the behaviors? How do people show up when they're actively disengaged? How do they show up? Vexed, yes. Yes. Side conversations, yes. Great, yes. Reporting late, absenteeism, restless, blame, bad talking, brilliant. Depressed, complaining about everything, absolutely. Burnout, yes. So we have that active disengagement going on in our organizations. What about disengagement? What does that look like? What does disengagement look like? So what we're seeing on the boat here. Yep, partially there, they're not quite there, not bothered, doesn't want to really interact, uninterested, quietly quitting, yes, absolutely, only cares about salary, excellent, excellent, excellent. And how do they, yes, they're disconnected. So they're showing up, they're disconnected, they're sort of really not there, they're not willing to participate, brilliant. And what about our active engaged? How are they showing up? Rowing that boat forward, carrying everyone, highly motivated, high energy, enthusiasm, energetic, absolutely happy, always there, absolutely. Okay. So, you know, we understand the importance of this engagement metric because we know when we look at what happens with the disengagement, we have less profitability, more health and safety issues, theft, lower customer ratings, lower productivity, higher staff turnover, less free time. Okay. So we know, and for those of you who are HR professionals and here understand, and for those of you who are not, I really hope you truly understand why we do need to do more engagement surveys in our organizations and to really get that understanding of where our teams are and, you know, how we can, you know, help to use the data and use the analytics to help us to make more informed decisions. Now, take a guess for me, what percentage of the world's workforces are actively engaged? What percentage, or unless you know the number, what percentage of the world's workforces are actively engaged? 10, great guess there, 30, 15, 25, 40, okay. Wonderful, some great guesses there, guys, and some 20, okay, great, it's actually 15%. Scary, huh? That's 15%. Now remember, this is an average. What does it tell us, folks? We have a lot of work to do. Because the other thing that we don't understand, and this is a very, very important metric to understand. So we see this group of disengaged and actively disengaged teams. You see, you know, we have these two groups. Do we really understand what it's costing us? What percentage of a salary do you think is wasted when you have disengagement and active disengagement? What percentage of a salary is wasted? 30, 70, 60, 50, Great guesses, guys. Fantastic. Absolutely. Lots. Yes. Well, here's the thing, folks. It's actually average 34%. So 34% of the salary is wasted. I agree with you. I think it's more, but this is Gallup research. It all comes from Gallup. All of our programs are based on market research. But it's actually 34% of a salary. So what I'd like you to do for me is just quickly, let's do a little calculation. Let's have some fun here and calculate this. Although some of you may think, Indy, this isn't fun. I'm like having a nervous breakdown because let's take a think of our teams right now. What percentage of our team? So let's say you have 100 persons in your team. And what percentage of them are actively engaged, right? So high enthusiasm, energy, looking for opportunity, problem solvers, proactive, commitment, results, going over and above, right? What percentage? So let's say you have 100 persons. So let's say 15 of those persons are actively engaged. That means we have 85, right? Who are either disengaged or actively disengaged. Okay, so then I want you to tell me what is your average salary. So let's say your average salary is say $10,000 and make it a nice, easy number, $10,000 a month. Then 34% of 10,000 is what? $3,400, right? Okay. So now I want you to multiply that 3,400 by 85. What are you getting? Correct. Now multiply that by 12. That's just the month, right? So multiply it by 12 months. So do you understand what's happening here, folks? Do you understand what's going on in our organizations? Do you understand? Yes, thank you for all of you who've done the calculations, right? So I want you to start really thinking long and hard about what it is, your number, exactly. When you see the number, Dwayne, when you see the number, I mean, honestly, I have people like almost have a nervous breakdown sometimes when I do this presentation. But here's the other thing that's interesting too. Someone in the poll, it came up about we're not attracting top talent. But when we have top talent in our organizations and we don't retain that talent, when we lose that talent, it's actually costing us 50% of the salary at an entry level, and at a leader level, especially when we have top talent, it's 250% of that person's salary. That's what it's costing us as an organization. Okay, so I want you to start thinking about this really, really importantly, because let's do a quick assessment on creating and sustaining high-performing teams. So what we've done, we've taken everything that you needed to know about developing high-performing teams, but we're afraid to ask, and we've put it in a lovely framework. Okay, so let's take a look at this framework. So as you can see, you can read a lot about high-performing teams. It always comes back to 3 buckets, guys. Okay, so there's culture, there's leadership, there's skill set. All right. Now, what do we see in the culture piece? We see that the persons who say that they have high-performing teams, or that what high-performing teams are saying about why they're high-performing, is that they're extremely solution-focused. They're always spotting, solutions to problems. They're always going to their boss with solutions. So they're extremely solution-focused. There's a problem, they quickly think about a solution. Okay. They're also saying they have high ownership, accountability, and responsibility for their results. And not only their own results, but they hold each other accountable. Okay, so they own their results, whether it's good, whether it's bad. They also say that they trust each other, and there's open communication, seamless open communication. They're able to have difficult conversations easily. There's no toting feelings, right? We work through difficult issues, we clear hurdles, we're able to be mature and have those difficult conversations and treat each other with respect. Yeah, so we have that open trust and open communication. Okay, so that's our culture. What high-performing teams say, the number one thing that high-performing teams say about why they're high-performing is that they have good, solid relationships. Because all of this requires, as we operate as teams, if we want to have that agility, we have to have really good relationships. We can, bounce things off each other. We can hold each other accountable. We can call out unproductive behaviors and nobody's toting feelings and all those kind of things, right? We're not taking things personally, okay? The other thing that we see in the research is that when we see high-performing teams, they say that they have great connection to their vision and their values. They really understand why they're doing what they're doing. They're cascading it to their teams. They're keeping their teams passionate and focused around their vision and values. They also say that they're being developed as leaders, and they also say they have a very strong philosophy of recognition, where people are recognized and, recognized not just for, good job, but really deep recognition around behaviors and things that they're doing well. Okay, so there's a culture and there's a philosophy of recognition in our organizations where they're high-performing teams. And the other thing that high-performing teams say about why they're high-performing is in the skill set arena, they understand what great looks like. So they know what their benchmark, so they have, they know what great looks like, that there are development plans being done for them. And so they're being, oh, someone's saying they're not hearing. No, I think everyone else is hearing. Is everyone else hearing? Yes? Yes, okay, sorry, I'm not sure what happened with your stuff there. Okay, so the skill set, so they're benchmarking, so they know what great looks like. There's a development plan, so they're being developed in terms of their skills, and there's a constant feedback. How are you doing? These are your strengths, these are your areas of improvement, and constant building of that plan. Okay, so I want you to take a look at this for me, and I want you to quickly do an assessment, guys. Where do you think, if you were to look at these areas on the outside here of the Venn diagram, which of those areas can you say that your organization does exceptionally well? And how are your teams, how would you rate your teams on this and your organizations on this? Where would you say there are opportunities for improvement? Where would you say there are opportunities for improvement? Okay, great. Some people are giving some ratings on this. Great. Improvement, culture, skills, leadership, accountability. Okay, fantastic. So many of you, yep, recognition, absolutely. Leadership, accountability, culture, improvement on all. Okay, so high-performing teams say, when we look at what high-performing teams say about why they are high-performing, take a quick look at this. I'm just going to show you this slide because this is a really important slide, but there's some big ones in here. We have each other's backs. We never have mistrust arising from communication from our team to our team. See that? We have difficult conversations easily and can move past difficult issues. This is what the research is showing. High-performing teams, high-performing agile teams say this is why they're high-performing and what it is that leads to it. Look at this one. We have healthy conflict and we can disagree and commit. We put the team agenda ahead of our personal agendas. Team agenda first. Okay, anything here that stands out to anyone that really like, whoa, I didn't realize this is so important. Anything from anyone that really stands out? Different opinions are valued. That's right. So that is the diversity and inclusion here. The different opinion and ideas are valued. Yeah, I think someone raised that. It's incorporated in this one here. Can you see it? the different opinions and ideas are valued, so that we encourage ideas from, you know, a variety of different persons. Exactly. Being able to trust each other fully. Absolutely. This one is important as well. Our team members feel safe to express their minds and express themselves in their best and worst moments. So we create psychologically safe environments. Okay, so that people do not feel judged or shamed or, you know, those types of things. All right. So guys, you know, again, we understand the importance of this. We understand the challenge that we have ahead of us. And we know, Drucker has said it, culture eats strategy for every day, eats breakfast for culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. We know the importance of culture. We know the importance of engagement. And really importantly, there are only 3 measurements. You'll see this over and over again. This is, you know, Jack Welch and all of the leadership gurus have said this, is that there are only 3 measurements that tell you nearly everything you need to do about an organization's overall performance: employee engagement, customer satisfaction, and cash flow. Okay, so we know what we need to do. We know that it's important for us. And we need to understand that not only is the engagement metric critical, but we need to understand about agility. So let's take a look at what the research is showing us about agility. So many of us, so quick definition here, right? So standard definition, it's the ability of the organization to be able to rapidly adapt to market dynamics and to respond to customer needs, right? So we understand that speed, right? Speed is a new currency, okay? So how are high-performing teams supposed to be agile if they have broken relationships, if they have poor relationships, if they don't trust each other? How are we supposed to move really seamlessly, okay? Now, a lot of organizations decided, hey, let's put in a matrix structure. It's going to improve agility. Come on, I'm sure a bunch of you know about this because a bunch of you have matrix structures in your organizations, right? But what is it showing us? It hasn't really done much in the agility. Okay, that's the reality. Okay, so not only are we seeing that culture is eating strategy, but we're also seeing that culture is eating processes for breakfast, because processes are not going to give us the answer. We can change all the processes we want in an organization. We are not going to get that agility. So what is it that we need to do? What we need to do is we need, and I'll just give you the definition straight out of Gallup, which is that we need to create workplaces that are centered on nimble, high-performing teams fueled by the talent, who have the right mindsets and the tools and the systems, but they are supported by leaders and managers. And as we can see from the Agile framework, that look at what's going on here. Yes, we have to have teams that feel empowered and trusted. We have to have teams that are constantly sharing knowledge, encouraging innovation, that we are creating a space to have a bit of openness to risk. We have interdepartmental collaboration, that we keep our focus simple. You know, our simple, remember the Southwestern Airlines, their strategy was very simple: wheels up, because as long as that plane was in the air, they were making money. So it was wheels up. So everybody knew the strategy, everybody knew and was connected to the vision of the organization. Okay, so, you know, we're seeing what's going on here, and it's really coming all the way right back to people. Regular feedback, we see it again. It's coming up again in the research. The teams that said that they got regular feedback had much more agility. Okay, so we're seeing the whole, you know, the framework, we're seeing all the things in the research. And what we're also seeing is that the companies with a soul experience, that is the companies leading from the power of the heart, had much higher engagement and retention, much better customer service, and longer term profitability. Now, I wanted to include the issue of diversity and inclusion here, because this is a very important conversation that's happening. And as we can see from the earlier discussion, when I brought up the current conversation, the current context that we're in, it's about how are we creating organizations that are really recognizing the diversity we have in front of us, and what are we doing as an organization to what I like to say is address the unconscious biases that we have in our organizations. Okay, because just to quickly give you the research and the data on the value of diversity, as you can see from Deloitte, from Josh Bersin, from Glassdoor, from BCG, from even the global diversity practices, that the employees who have that commitment to diversity are 80% more likely to believe they work in a high-performing company. So again, it's not just, you want to retain, you want to attract that good talent, you want to retain that talent as well, because we know what it's costing us to lose talent. And so the kinds of environments we're creating to keep really good talent. We're also seeing that they're higher cash flow per employee when you're inclusive. Okay, 3 out of 4 job seekers say diversity is critical to them when they're evaluating companies to work with. All right, so we're seeing the numbers here, guys. We're seeing the value of diversity, and we understand the critical and important nature of us looking at this and understanding how do we, as HR professionals, as leaders, as business leaders, how do we manage this whole conversation? Because a lot of people are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Oh my God, why is this so important? But we understand even from our agenda 2030 that it's coming down the pipeline, and we do need to be able to really understand this and unlock this. Okay, so you're saying, okay, Indy, yes, I hear all of this and this is all great, but where do we start? Well, drum roll, because yes, we do need transformation. Yes, it starts from people, but where does it start? It starts from us, the leaders. Okay, we saw it in all the research. You need to be supported by leaders and managers. It starts from us, folks. You see, what has happened is the 20th century leader was the leader. We know them, we've seen them, we probably had bosses like them. They were directing, evaluating, gatekeeping. It was always, micromanaging, check, did it, telling people what to do. Yes, that was our traditional leadership. Our 21st century leaders are leaders who have to be so aware of themselves. Nowadays, we have in front of us, we have sometimes 4 generations in organizations. We have some boomers, so we have builders, boomers, Gen X's, Gen Ys. We have the whole range of generations in our organizations, and each generation looking at things in a different way. So us as leaders, we have, by the way, we have women in traditional male roles, men in traditional female roles, all of the diversity, people come from different cultures and, whatever things that we're coming to the workplace with. And us as leaders now, we have to be aware of, our teams and our, employees that we have in front of us. How are we showing up? How are we showing up still as, traditional leaders, or are we really showing up as modern leaders? Because are we mentoring, are we developing, and are we connecting with our teams? Are we building relationships? Because here's the other piece, folks, and this one's really important because I don't think a lot of people understand this. It is our responsibility as leaders to influence engagement. It is. Now, we want to attract and we want to recruit the right culture fit for our organizations. Absolutely. When we attract those persons, what are we doing as leaders to create passionate and focused teams, to influence engagement? What are we doing as managers to create competent and productive teams? And the question I want to leave and ask you all right now, because it's a very important question, what are you doing or not doing that's leading to the dysfunctions in your teams? Because we saw what high-performing teams are saying about why they're high-performing, and it starts with us. Okay? We influence engagement. So when we see those scores, folks, we have to sit back and think, what am I doing or not doing? Okay? All right, anyone wants to challenge me on this? I love challenging questions, folks, or any kind of questions at all. So what are we doing or not doing? Any questions? Anything at all before I jump into showing you the new ladder of leadership? So just before COVID, we had our ladder of leadership that pretty much ended here in terms of the accomplished leader and the respected leader, and people we were all moving towards that. But what do we have post-COVID? Well, we still have some amount of whatever the post-COVID is, but the point is that we have two additional rungs on our leadership ladder, and one is the stress-free leader and one is the intuitive leader. And what that really means, folks, is that so here we are leaders. We understand who we are, we understand our strengths, we understand our areas of improvement, right? We know that if we need to be the leader, this is the person I need to become. What do I need to do to be aware of how I may be showing up to my team? So I'm very self-aware. I'm also aware of my triggers. I'm also aware of how I respond under stress. I'm also aware of how I need to modify and adapt my behaviors to create win-win relationships. I'm also aware of how to motivate my teams. And I really understand certain situations, and I really, empathize with my teams, but I can empathize, but I will not create ruinous empathy. Okay? So who is the leader that we need to become? Because going into this next phase of coming out of COVID, and certainly in our 2030 agenda, and the move towards that, and all of our SDG goals, and a lot of that is going to be cascaded down to our organizations. Who are the leaders that we need to become? Okay, and what are we doing or not doing that's leading to the dysfunctions in our teams? All right, any questions? Come on, folks, some questions. Anything at all? All right, I'll just keep going then. So, is there a solution? Yes, there certainly is a solution. Let's see, let's ask you another quick question. What is it that makes people the happiest? This was a survey that was done by Harvard many years ago. What do you think makes people the happiest, folks? What makes people the happiest? Salary, purpose, knowing they're valued, appreciation, acknowledgement, money, recognition, money, freedom. The number one thing that makes people the happiest: peace of mind, fulfillment, knowledge. Interesting. Lots, you're all correct. Money, interesting, was not the most important thing. You can have lots of money, but you can't have happiness all the time. So interestingly, it was multiple and meaningful relationships. So what we're seeing, and we hear this, you've seen it. We've seen it, and we've seen, in our organizations where, you'd see someone leaving your organization and they will leave the team. They leave the people around them. They're like, oh, I don't really enjoy being around this organization, the people. There's no great relationships here. It's not even worth me staying. Yeah, so it's multiple, and yes, money is important, agreed, but the number one thing is multiple and meaningful relationships. So someone has a question. How do we measure if we are doing it right in terms of people? Very good question. If we are doing it right, our engagement scores, we are going to see people. What do we know about active engagement? What did we know about active engagement? People are doing more than is expected. There's high energy, there's enthusiasm. Now, this is to say that, we're doing the recruiting, we're getting people on board, we're having the, of course, we're recruiting for culture fit and we're understanding our teams, and we're assessing them, not just their capability, but we're assessing them in terms of behaviors and, what is it that we need to align on. So you know, we have a role to play as leaders, a very important role. Remember, we are not leading sales. We're not leading marketing. We're not leading operations. We are leading people. And if we don't understand people, well, here 100% of our customers are people. 100% of our teams are people. If we don't understand people and we don't understand relationships, forget about it. Okay, so the engagement score is a very good way to gauge if we're doing it right. You'll get feedback from your teams. Get feedback often, guys. Okay, so what happened, you know, with us at Engage and Grow, we realized that, okay, so this is all the research is showing all of this. And we also found from our own experience that company training was the least desirable way to learn. So, and I used to do this. I was one of those persons. I used to take teams away. We would go on a retreat. We'd go away for 2 days. We'd do a really nice lunch. We'd go out and do a team building activity. We'd build a bamboo framework. We would all sing Kumbaya. Yes, we're going to change. It's going to be better. I think it's going to be great. And then we would come back to work. And as you can see from little Fred here, he's about to croak because our culture is still toxic. The water is dirty. We need to clean up the water. And it starts with us as leaders, right? So what do we do as Engage and Grow engagement and leadership and culture experts? What we do is we work with you and we help you to clean up that water. We found all those other methods, you know, workshops, traditional training, individual coaching. It works, you know, the individual coaching, and it does work to a certain extent. But what we find where we get the best results is what we call a group activation system. And what that basically means is we work together in groups with leaders and their teams, because when we're working together, everyone is aligned, everybody's working together in the program, holding each other accountable. So there's peer accountability as well, which is really critical for the success of any intervention as it pertains to building and creating and sustaining high-performing agile teams. Okay, so let me just share with you our secret sources. So what we do is we unlock a series of engagement keys that we believe are the most important keys. Now, this is not to say that if we come into an organization or we're working with a company, they would say to us, you know, these are the 3 KPIs that we feel are really important for us to get results in terms of really creating and sustaining the high-performing team. So they may say, these are the 3 areas. And based on the engagement scores, we design the programs around unlocking a number of these engagement keys. And as you can see, there are 3 buckets. One is about being more proactive. One is that we want to keep teams connected. And the other one is creating productive teams. So these are some of the keys that we unlock, as you can see here: innovation, leadership initiatives, behavior and values, really understanding the differences, some deep personal development, roadmap coaching, leadership acts. All of these are engagement keys that we unlock. And these are just some, because we have over 110 engagement keys that have been identified that need to be unlocked. And we build on this framework because we believe and we know, because we've tried and tested and proven, that these are the areas that the majority of the time high-performing teams need to build on these 3 areas. Okay, so that's our secret sauce number 1. Secret sauce number 2 is that we work on what we call the science of motivation. It's really around neuroscience. And so the programs are built around understanding that we have 7 neurological motivators, we have 6 core human needs, and that we pull those together. And using what, you know, is basically the quickest way to learn is discussion and experience and others teaching others. So I'm a facilitator, and the coaches who are Engage and Grow coaches facilitate this process, where again, it's really tapping into the mindset and the neuroscience behind what is required to get us the results that we want to get. So the third part of this is that there are only 2 ways to change. One is hypnosis. I'm sorry, I don't do it. I don't know anyone who does, but I'm sure there are people who are. But the other one is repetition and reprogramming. So all of our programs are based around creating high performance habits. So our programs tend to be from 8 to 16 weeks, depending on which of the programs that you're interested in doing, because the only way we're going to build those muscles and build those grooves in our brain and create the change is through repetition and reprogramming. Okay, so that's secret sauce number 3. Secret sauce number 4 is that we focus on building, and you would have heard me say from the beginning, leading from the power of the heart. Now, for those of you who are leaders and those of you who are HR professionals and others here in the group with us today, many times, and I've been in organizations where you've gone into an organization, yes, we're having people performance issues, yes, we're having issues with people, and what do? We tend to go back to the process. We need a performance management process. We need a policy. We need this, we need that. And I'm not knocking it. Those are important, yes. But we're not going to get any of this to stick if we have not unlocked this. What is our culture? How are we leading? How are we showing up as leaders? How do we communicate? What are our relationships? And what are our agreed behaviors that we need to align on if we want to be seen as quality leaders? And what we have seen, the research is so profound and so blatant that organizations that focus on leading from the power of the heart are the organizations that are actually 8 times more successful. And there are many, many examples throughout the world right now. Okay, the last, and again, there are only 5 secret sources, but they're critical. We customize our programs for every client. So if you are, because we have a variety of industries we serve: oil and gas, manufacturing, FMCG, services, small businesses as well, and leaders who, opt because they want to come in and they want to be a better versions of themselves. And they say, Indy, please, I want to do my own. I want to be a better leader. So we customize our programs for every single client, because as I said, we have over 400. These are some of the engagement keys that we need to unlock, but there are many others. It really depends on what the organization is after. Okay, so the other thing that's really important is, again, just to show you that our programs are very systematic. So it is based, it's not a trial and error. We're not guinea pigging anyone. The company's been around for 10 years. It's a global organization. So we do this work throughout the world. And we have been successfully, we've done, I think, over 40 programs throughout the Caribbean, in Trinidad, Guyana, and Jamaica. And we have had tremendous success throughout the region. So let me just, if you would permit, show you a couple of testimonials. I know people always love to read testimonials. So let me just share a few with you. This is one from, Massey Gas in Trinidad and Tobago.
So the program impacted me in a way that I had to introspect on about myself. But the training itself, encouraged me, it motivated me to want to be a better me.
Even the deeper connections that we were able to make with each other, because we are all interdependent on each other. And I think that connection made a big difference in how we treat one another, how we react to each other, how we deal with each other.
So I think the program has impacted me significantly. I think I had a whole mind shift. You kind of just break it down in a way that, I have it. I could make the change. It gave me that confidence boost. And I think with that shift in my mindset, it changed a lot me professionally and personally. And yeah.
Why it worked is because we were able to interact and get the feedback from our peers directly with each other. How we paired up together, and also hearing from the different perspective from your peers on you would not even imagine. and you found it out by just listening?
So it impacted me in that it was more interactive, and it was a continuation over a number of weeks as compared to the other programs where everything would be put together within one day or 1 week. So it gave us the opportunity to be able to practice.
I think that a lot of the programs focus on the individual and tell the individual this is how you have to be different. But this one focuses a lot more heavily on teamwork and getting everybody to be part of a collective. And I think that that manifests itself by the end of the program, because a lot of the silos that existed in the company probably came down, and we all have better communication as a result.
This woman is a godsend. The ability that she has, the way she interacts with people, it's very, very engaging. She's brilliant. She has skills. She can make things happen. She can bring an employee from me, from how I was, to how I am now. So the long and short of it is, hire her. Trust me, you won't regret it.
Well, it's a journey, and to me, the journey has now just started. While I'm impressed with the results, we still have a way to go. And the way is towards excellence. And I believe this program is one that is directed towards achieving excellence. Not just excellence in the business, but also in the personal side of the individual. I highly recommend it.
Thank you. That was very, when I saw it as well, I was very touched because I didn't realize the impact that the program has really had on people personally as well, because it really does. Yeah, it's very much about the mindset, and it's a lot of what we do, because for change to happen for us, guys, it starts with us. And really understanding who are the people that we need to become if we want to be the #1 leaders, the #1 teams. Who's a team player that I need to become? Okay. I have a bunch of others, but I'd really love to be able to do some questions and with you all. And I know we have half an hour, but let me just quickly show you, we do guarantee change. And if you want, I can show you afterwards some more of the testimonials that we have. And the results that we're getting globally are really tremendous. But I do want to quickly bring your attention to the programs that we're doing. So we have so many different programs that these are just some of them. And they're all interconnected, because we start off with some of the group activation programs. We do one-on-one coaching as well. And because some organizations, they want to have their leaders coached. So we do what we call Leader of Leaders program. But we do really focus a lot on the group activation, which is the leaders and their teams. Again, that repetition and reprogramming once every 12 weeks. And then, the blue belt, which then takes us to once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And then the black belt, which is once every, 5 weeks. And so, because we know that culture change takes time, it's not going to happen overnight. And we have to keep the repetition, the reprogramming. We have to hold each other accountable. We have to keep working at it, guys. We cannot just do one-off team building activities and expect things to change. Okay, we can't do these one-off interventions and expect things to change. So we have such a range of programs that again, please feel free to reach out if there's anything that you think that we may do. We even have a really fantastic sales program as well. But the one that I want to bring your attention to today is this one, which is the Diversity and Equity and Inclusion program. There is none other right now in the world. And our teams, our global office teams based in Turkey, have actually come up with a fantastic inclusion and diversity activation system. And it's based on, as you can see, it's quite a process, but it's based on unlocking a number of what we call DEI success keys. And this is where I think, for some of you who may be struggling, who, don't know where to start, don't know what to do, again, please reach out, please get in touch, because our program, again, it's been going on. Like a lot of our teams in Indonesia are using it right now, specifically with a lot of the big companies, the global companies. But again, if you feel that this is an area, and it's not the only area, but if this is one that, you know, may have a certain kind of focus in your organization, please reach out. Okay. All right. And I think that's close to it being a wrap. But what we would love to do is to get your information. So if you could please express your interest, and I'm going to share your gifts with you. Thank you for sticking it out with us today and for practicing that beginner's mindset. So what I would like to offer you, a free engagement survey. Okay, so if you're interested in getting that engagement survey, I would like to offer it to you for free. Please put your name and contact information, your telephone number and email address in the chat, and we will get it to you. The other thing I want to give you all is a video course book. It's actually valued at $99, and I'm going to give it to you all for free. There is a link. Okay, so you can go to the link. You can actually copy this link, or Ari, you can drop it into the chat if you'd like for everyone. And we need your contact information, your name and email address and telephone number as well, please, folks, if you could share that, because we'll need to be able to send those to you. Okay, send the information to you. But you can take this down, which is this link. And Ari, if you can drop this link into the chat. And if you put the code IC1 in, you will have immediate access to this video course on the 6 steps to building highly engaged employees. All right. And again, last but by no means least is a really fantastic book, again, written by Richard Maloney, the founder of Engage and Grow. During COVID, published this book, and it's called, as you can see, Stress-Free: How to Thrive Under Pressure in Unprecedented Times. So again, a free video book for you. If you would like it, please put your information in here. And I really look forward to connecting with all of you and, you know, working with you and, you know, being able to deliver some programs to you for yourself and your teams. Okay, so please, some questions. Don't leave. I'd love some questions, please. Questions. Let's get some questions going. Okay, what do we have here? All right, so someone's asking me a question directly here. They're saying, how successful have you been in Trinidad and Tobago? Okay, so we have done, like I said, over 40 programs. And in fact, if you'd like, I can even share another one of the testimonials with you all. And what we have found every single time, and you know, you can reach out to some of these people, some of you, you know, you may even know some of these folks and ask them a little bit about the programs. But let me just share this testimonial with you. Actually, it's from Massey Distribution, one of the leaders in Massey Distribution.
Professionally and personally, your professional flaws come from your personal struggles, and your professional development has a direct correlation on you as a leader. When I reflect on the program, I think when you start, you initially think that it is like those regular management trainings, because I've been on quite a lot. And the last thing I think we need right now is a lot more homework to do, because we have a lot of tasks. Everybody's really busy. So it's about time for leadership and personal development is a little bit taxing, because people always feel as if it has to go on the back burner. And I think sometime by the 8th session or so, I kind of realized that the approach in this program is very different. It's a series of very simple exercises that you're doing, and you're doing it repetitively, and it gets to the point where it becomes almost every day. And somewhere in there, you start seeing the transformation. You start like reflecting on things, which I think is so important, especially in these times, because we are really in a kind of stressful time right now, and it's really difficult for people to turn their mind off and kind of center themselves. And as you rightly said, you know, say stuff from the heart. You know, we're doing a lot of mind these days and less heart. And I think that's important now, to do a lot more heart. And as Indy says, you know, you lead with the heart, because when you do that, as strange as it might seem, it's a lot less stressful. And I think that's what we need a little bit more of in the world today. I think there is a difference between Endura and then you get Indy. So Endura gives you the theoretical basis, I think, for that whole transformation, that leadership, that from going from manager to a leader, that transformation. But then you get Indy. And Indy is, she's the one that will make you reflect on your behavior and laugh at yourself. And for me, Indy is a mixture of nurturing yet frank. And for me, that really works because I think self-development requires a level of vulnerability and honesty. Make the investment. The return on investment will cascade throughout your organization with a high rate of return. The point is that the new normal requires a different mindset. I think as managers, as leaders, we have to be willing to take that leap of faith, take that risk, to put corporate investment behind the evolution of our upcoming leaders and to prepare ourselves to the future and what that requires.
All right, that was Roxanne. Lovely. All right, we're getting some questions here. So let's see what questions we have here. We have first question. I think I saw one higher up, but okay, let's just go to these down here. Okay, so let's say you're a hard worker and the feedback you get is not of your standard. How should I move forward with those results? Okay, so remember guys, so let's just quickly touch on feedback. There are three things about feedback. There's your identity trigger, which is when someone gives you feedback and it triggers you because it questions your identity or who you think you are. So if someone says, if you think you're a fair and a just person and someone gives you feedback that it may land or you may land like you're not fair or just, it may trigger you, okay? Relationship feedback. So whether your relationship is a good or not, you may even question that feedback. And then so there's identity trigger, your relationship trigger, and your identity, relationship, and what's the other one, Ari? There are three.
Knowledge base.
Knowledge-based trigger, right? So again, who do you see or how do you see yourself, right? So because you may see yourself as being, disorganized and somebody gives you feedback about that, you're like, yeah, okay, that's you're disorganized, that's okay, all right? So again, when you're getting feedback from someone, I would say just ask for a little bit of clarification because when we get triggered by feedback, it's a button that's being pressed. And we just want to take some time to kind of look at that button and go, what's that button about? Because maybe unbeknownst to us, the optics of something we're doing may be landing a particular way to others. So it's really just awareness. You get, and also just changing the way that we receive feedback. Feedback is a gift. If we can change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So if we're getting feedback from someone, just receive it. Just say, I'm receiving this feedback. Just be aware of your triggers because all that trigger is going to do, it's going to get you overthinking. I've been there. I've gotten feedback in my past where it got me thinking and analyzing, and then it was totally unproductive because all I was doing was going down a rabbit hole with it. Okay? All right, now moving forward with the results, you want to be able to just ask some questions. What would you like me to do? What do you think how this may show up? Of course, your relationship with the person giving you those feedbacks, that feedback should be improved because of course, there's always going to be that, dynamic of that relationship if the relationship is not a good one. All right, I hope that answered your question. All right, let's hear. Pandemic has increased workforce needs, I believe, over the past, so labor power has increased. How can the employee-employee relationship evolve with the team if someone disengaged and has started to display a burnout disposition? Well, a lot of organizations come to me around this, and we do a program called the White Belt, which is a really fantastic program that allows, now, by the way, let me just say this, guys. I don't know if you're all familiar with the law of familiarity. Are you familiar with the law of familiarity? Okay, the law of familiarity is very simply this, where, so just like my children, I would, even though I may know language, literature, whatever, I would never tutor them because they just don't take me seriously, or they may not take me as seriously as someone who is a tutor that I pay to come in and teach them or to support them or to help them. Okay, so it's just like anything. People pay me thousands of dollars to talk to, you know, to their teams, but I would be talking to my family or my friends and nobody's really hearing because, of course, you know, it's indie, familiarity, right? So it's the same with a lot of organizations. They come to me, they say, this is what we're seeing. I'd really like you to do an engagement survey for me because obviously they want to get their finger on the pulse of what's going on. But then we need to use the data to see how we can design a program. And usually we start off with a white belt, which is really education on how do we need to start unlocking some of those engagement keys to get our teams, especially, you know, if they're disengaged or actively disengaged, to move to more actively engaged. Now, by the way, I will tell you this honestly, in some of these programs we've run, some of the teams where, you know, some folks were so actively disengaged, they actually resigned. Yeah, I mean, you know, it really couldn't, you know, it just happened that way. And, you know, in other cases, we got, you know, real active disengagement of teams moving forward to more actively engaged. So we've had really fantastic results. Again, you do need to start with your baseline data. So look at your engagement scores, look at behind the engagement, what is it showing you? And then we can, you know, please reach out to us. We're happy to do an initial program to get you started because you are going to have to, you know, address your teams and draw a line in the sand and say, guys, for us to get better, we all need to get better. And for some of you as leaders, you will have to have that vulnerable conversation to say, you know what, I'm making a commitment to getting better. Okay. I don't know if that helps you. Again, please feel free to reach out. What are guidelines to giving good feedback? Well, of course, it's always important to understand the context of the feedback, you know, who you're giving the feedback to. We always want to start with some strengths. Of course, this is what you're doing well. And when we do feedback in our organizations, and certainly with my teams, we focus on strengths, but we always have a roadmap for areas of improvement. Okay. There's a really great book, which is, you know, a book that we use. It's called The Art of Receiving Feedback, because a lot of folks focus on giving feedback, but we also have to be aware of receiving feedback as well. Okay. So again, always build out a roadmap with the person with whom you are giving the feedback. All right. And again, it's really around us as leaders, understanding the person we have in front of us. So that, you know, understanding how to modify and adapt our behavior. So if the person we have in front of us is someone who is very cautious or someone who's very, you know, very fact oriented, or, you know, this is where as leaders, we have to be able to practice that empathy and really become that intuitive leader that understands how to give that person feedback and when, you know, how you're not going to give person feedback by text or, you know, whatever. It's really important to I can give you a little tip, actually. Tips for really good feedback is the HIP model. So be helpful, right? First one is helpful, be humble. Always give your feedback in person, always give the feedback immediately. Yes. Publicly praise and privately criticize. And you're not attacking the person's personality. You're not saying to the person they were dishonest or, you know, really going after, you know, you're talking about a behavior that, you know, you may not be aware, but when you did this, it landed this way. You know, the optics of it, it just looked like that. You understand? So I don't know if that helps you with your feedback there. HIP, HIPP. All right, let's see what else is there. In companies that have begun hiring employees in recent times, especially those individuals that belong to newer generations, what would you see is the biggest challenge in ensuring that they're acclimatized to the new environment besides the knowledge transfer from more experienced persons? Okay. Let me see if I understand this. companies become in recent times belong to newer generations. What would you say ensuring that? Okay, so look, folks, at the end of the day, culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. If we have a 20th century culture in our organization, by the way, we know what culture is. Culture is how you do anything, is how you do everything. In fact, how do we do things around here? So if we are hiring persons into our culture and it is not the right culture fit, we're going to have a problem. Okay, so remember, we want to hire for attitude first and aptitude second. So what is the culture fit? So if you're having a mismatch with your culture, you're going to have a problem. So you're going to need to keep working on that. Let's see, in companies to begin, yes, okay. Right, it's not just about knowledge transfer, folks. It's about culture. What is the culture? If your culture is 20th century culture and you're bringing in 21st century millennials or younger, and they want to be more, as we know, and I spoke about this before, what do we stand for or as an organization? You know, the societal consciousness, what are we connecting to? The planet, the people, the purpose, and then the profit. Yes, profit is important, but it's what do we stand for as a leader? What do we stand for as an organization? I think that's about it. Ari, anything else? How are we going here? Have I answered your questions, folks? Oh, here we go. One more. Yes, thank you so much, folks. Thank you so much. Yes, I did rank #1. I was a #1 coach for 2020 in Engage and Grow Globally. Yes, thank you so much for that. I'm continuing to work towards being #1. I think I was #3 last month, but I had a nice full run of 17 months where I was actually the #1 coach, Trinidad and Tobago, representing Trinidad and Tobago. I was #1 for quite a long time, a long stretch, until the French got me. And then it was the French and the Indonesians got me. So working towards keeping back at #1. So yes, thank you so much for that. All right, anyone else? Any other questions? Come on, let's get it. Any more? All right. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with each and every one of you. And oops, there we go. I think some of the questions, yes, all were answered. Okay, fantastic. And other than the book shared, is there any other literature you would recommend for me on team building empowerment? 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni. Really fantastic. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's kind of everything you needed to know about, 5 dysfunctions of a team. It covers everything. So that's a good one. Anything else? All right. So would you like to see one more testimonial and then we can head off? Yep, let's look at this one. This one is from our Massey distribution lead. Sorry, guys, I know we have a question there, so I just want to answer before you all leave. So the question is that teams built on divisiveness can never thrive. Any advice for handling these situations in the workplace? Well, you know, what I can tell you is absolutely divisiveness is something we need to shut down. We need to shut down unproductive conversations. We need to shut down any, as we saw from that boat visual, that's active disengagement. That's side conversations that are people, that's people who going into meetings saying one thing, coming out and saying, boy, I never agree with that, you know, and all of this type of thing. And we know that it's not is what we want to, we understand, we know that that does not work if we want to create that high-performing team. So what I will say to you is, it is going to take work, but it requires first and foremost getting everyone aligned around. If we are going to draw that line in the sand and we want to be the number one, it requires every single one of us to be involved in this process. Now we start with the leadership, of course, because, you know, the head of the fish rock, the whole fish rot. We've seen this. And this is where our leaders need to be able to start the change and create the change. And the change starts with our leaders. Okay, so what I would say is, it has to start with, you know, a culture. We are creating a culture of, you know, inclusiveness. We're creating a culture of positive conversations where we trust each other, we know each other. When you know, hopefully you can all take a look at that book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. The first and most important foundation of any relationship is trust. So if you have that absence of trust, it's going to create the fear of conflict. People don't feel comfortable to call out unproductive behaviors. So it tells me that your company or your organization has serious mistrust and serious trust issues that need to be addressed. And so I hope that helps. I don't know if, I mean, and again, we have a lot of the programs that we do are built around creating and building the trust, because it does start with each person as well. Okay, based on the program schedule developed by a company, would the clients allocate time now to aid in team building? I recall you said it isn't a one-time investment. Based on, I'm not sure if I understand. Based on the program scheduled, would the clients allocate time now to aid in team building? I'm not sure if someone could just clarify that question for me a little bit. Is it Anthony? Anthony, would you just mind coming off your mic and maybe just, or maybe just giving me a little clarification there?
Hi, Andy. I could allow Anthony to speak and he could just clarify his question.
Thank you. Anthony, I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you, my dear. Are you on mute? Anthony? Yes, Anthony, you're still on mute. You have to unmute yourself, I think, huh? Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Go for it. If you could just help me to understand that a little bit, Anthony. Hello? Anthony? Oh, we're still not hearing you. You want to type it into the...
Hi, Anthony. You are unmuted, so you could just speak.
Oh, it's your mic. Oh, okay. So tell me, no, it's okay. So let me just answer a piece of that. This is not a one-time investment. In other words, oh, Anthony's gone. Okay, I guess it was just connection issues as well. All right, but let me just answer the question again, which is that we start, you know, any culture change takes time, folks. And any kind of high performance habits, yes, we can get the process started, but as leaders, we have to champion the change. Now, remember the little fishbowl that I showed you when I was doing this, and I did it for many large organizations in Jamaica and here when I first came. And usually we would leave those workshops with the leaders championing the change, that they were holding the teams accountable to some of the behaviors that we aligned on, that we said this is what we needed to do to be the number one. But the leaders would get busy working on the business, in the business, and then it would all fall apart. So the reason our programs work is because I am facilitating, I'm holding the teams accountable to the behaviors, to the acts of leadership that they have said that they need to work on, because everyone takes an act of leadership, they work on it every week and they come back and report on it. Everyone takes a behavior, they work on it and report on it. We get feedback from the team, how people are showing up. So when we do that, so like any behavior change, because our brains are neuroplastic, yes, it is possible to change. That we begin to create new grooves. We begin to create awareness on what our triggers are and how to redirect our energy and how we show up as leaders. But, 12 weeks is 3 months, but then what we find is that, we need to really continue to build and sustain the change. So after the first 12 weeks, the program is maybe once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on the client. It can be every 5 weeks, and each program is tailored to built around how the teams can continue to work. So eventually the programs are staggered over like about 2 years, but the point is they're not as expensive. The first one obviously is every week, but the second one is a little less expensive and so on. So by the time you look at the investment that you've made, because Anthony, I'm sure you would have done some calculations already and seen the $3 million plus that some organizations are losing from having disengagement and active disengagement. So the investment makes it absolutely worthwhile to continue building that and sustaining that change. Okay, so I'm not sure if that answers your question, Anthony, or maybe you could help me. Are you able to come off mute? Did that answer the question? I think you're still on.
Indeed, he clarified in the chat a bit. He's asked if the clients actually schedule time to encourage more team building exercises other than the sessions they had with you.
Okay, so well, the clients had to do their own team building exercises. So when they took an active leadership, Anthony's gone, but let's say they decided that to be the number one in their industry, they needed to improve trust. So we had some team members that said, I'm going to take trust and I'm going to work on trust. And so what they did is they built out a little game where they went to the teams and they played a game around trust. And so it was them taking an activity, a specific area that they needed to work on, and they did a team building activity, so got everybody involved in playing this game around trust. Okay, so I'm not sure if that helps, but it is very action based. It's not homework, it's not writing reports, it's extremely action based. So that is why people love it, because it is not anything additionally. It's really just focusing on who is the person I need to become and what do I need to do. Okay. Nope, single persons can actually be, we have a leadership academy program where we actually have leaders. So it's about 6 leaders. So we have sometimes 6 different leaders from, different companies, because they have recognized that they want to be the best versions of themselves. Yes, and we do need to wrap up very quickly here because I see we have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. So yes, thank you so much for that reminder. But please feel free to reach out. Yes, Carrie, and we do have programs for individuals and leaders who want to be the best versions of themselves. So I look forward to working with you all and see you all again very soon. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for attending. I do ask that at the end of this session, a survey would pop up on your screen. We do ask that you participate in the survey and rate Dr. Couch's webinar. You could share what you like most about the webinar. This feedback will be collated and shared with her, so she'll know if you are interested in the services she's offering, if you enjoyed her session, if you'd like to see more webinars from Action Edge. So we do encourage you to participate in the survey, as it would be useful to our host here today. Thank you so much.
Please, please. Lots of feedback. I really appreciate it. We can only get better through feedback. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending. Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you. Thank you.